The airport never actually closed. Planes still landed. Lights stayed on. The skyline didn't go dark. From the outside, nothing collapsed. And that's exactly what made it harder to see. 2 months earlier, the system was operating at full capacity. Hotels above 90% occupancy, premium suites booked weeks ahead, restaurants running double seating into midnight. There was no off-season anymore. Demand didn't drop. It rotated. Europe in winter, Gulf in summer, Asia filling the gaps. A machine without pause, and for a moment, it looked permanent. That's where the illusion settles, because systems don't fail when they look weak. They fail when they look complete. By 2025, the numbers confirmed it. Nearly 20 million international visitors. 3 consecutive record years. Luxury rates holding without discounts. But the real signal wasn't volume, it was behavior. People weren't hesitating. They were paying without question. That's when a destination stops competing and starts assuming. But beneath that surface, something had already shifted, not in arrivals, in attitude. It didn't show up in reports, it showed up in hesitation. One more comparison before booking, shorter stays. Pushback on prices that used to go unquestioned. Nothing dramatic, just friction, small enough to ignore, large enough to matter. Inside hotel data, it appeared as a contradiction. Occupancy stable, rates slipping, rooms were still filling, but value was being negotiated down. That's the first signal most systems miss. Demand doesn't disappear, it softens, and once it softens, it can move. At the same time, something else was taking shape. Not inside the city, outside it. Saudi Arabia wasn't entering tourism, it was redesigning it. Hundreds of billions committed. Entire destinations built from zero, not extensions, new narratives, not how luxurious can this be, but why does this place exist at all? That difference changes everything, because Dubai never sold place, it sold experience. Constructed, optimized, controlled. For years, that was enough. But the comparison changed, not price versus price, meaning versus meaning, and that's harder to win. Still, none of this was urgent. The system was working. Flights full, hotels expanding, demand steady. Until something unrelated forced the question. Late February 2026. Airspace instability across the Gulf. Not a direct hit, not a local failure. Something worse, uncertainty. Flights rerouted, travel times extended, costs rising, and suddenly a decision that used to be automatic became conditional. Not when do we go, but should we go at all? That's where the drop begins. Not at the destination, at the decision. Within days, behavior changed. Search interest held, bookings didn't, people looked, then stopped. That gap is where revenue disappears. By March, the effect was visible. Hotels that had been full were partially empty, not closed, just underused. And that changes everything, because luxury infrastructure is built for fullness. At 90%, it works. At 50%, it strains. At 20%, it exposes everything. And some properties reach that level within weeks. This wasn't a collapse. It was misalignment between what the system was built for and what reality could support. But the shock didn't create the problem. It revealed it. Dubai didn't suddenly become less attractive. It became easier to question. And once that question exists, it compounds. This is where the story changes. Because Dubai isn't just a destination, it's a model. One built on continuous inflow, continuous belief, continuous movement. And when any of those slow, the system tightens, quietly, across everything. Retail, real estate, hospitality, investment, all calibrated for growth. Not possible growth, expected growth. And for the first time in years, that expectation broke. A hotel manager noticed it before the data confirmed it. Not in numbers, in silence. Corridors felt spaced out. Elevators arrived empty. Breakfast stretched longer because fewer people came. At first, it felt temporary. Then pricing shifted, quietly. Discounts appeared, not advertised, just adjusted. That's another signal, when exclusivity starts optimizing for occupancy. And once pricing drops, perception follows. Luxury doesn't operate on value, it operates on belief. And belief, once questioned, rarely returns the same. What followed didn't look like collapse. It looked like adaptation. Airlines rerouted, hotels repriced, packages adjusted. But adaptation has a cost, and that cost showed up in who didn't come back. Not all travelers react the same. Some delay, some downgrade, some disappear. The most sensitive group is also the most valuable. High-spending, long-haul travelers. They don't need to travel, they choose to. And when they hesitate, the impact is disproportionate. Because Dubai isn't built on volume, it's built on yield. Remove that layer, and the math changes. A travel advisor in London described it simply. Her clients weren't canceling, they were redirecting. Greece instead of Dubai, Maldives instead of the Gulf, Japan instead of stopovers. Same budget, different choice. That's the danger. Demand didn't shrink, it moved. And movement is harder to recover from than loss. At the same time, a deeper question surfaced. What is the reason to go? Not the hotel, not the service, the place. That question used to be secondary. In Dubai, the hotel was the destination. The mall was the experience. The skyline was the story. But preferences had shifted. Slowly, then all at once. Travelers weren't just seeking comfort, they were seeking distinction, not in luxury, in meaning. Other destinations offered anchors, nature that couldn't be replicated, culture that wasn't designed, experiences that existed before the traveler arrived. Dubai offered something else: control, precision, consistency. For years, that was its advantage. Now it feels like a limitation. A couple from Munich felt it without planning to. They had visited Dubai every year for 6 years. Same hotel, same routine. This time, the stay was shorter. They skipped things they used to book automatically. By day 3, they considered leaving early. Nothing was wrong. Everything worked perfectly. That was the problem. Nothing surprised them. At the end of the trip, they chose not to return. No frustration, no complaint, just completion. That's a different kind of loss, not rejection, exhaustion. And once a destination becomes replaceable, it loses urgency. This is where competition shifts. Saudi Arabia didn't need to outperform Dubai. It needed to offer something Dubai couldn't easily replicate. Novelty, untouched environments, a story still forming. Aspiration feeds on what hasn't been experienced, not what has been perfected. And with enough investment, different becomes compelling. Dubai doesn't disappear, but it changes position from default to option. And for a system built on being the default, that's structural. Inside the city, the effects spread. Retail slowed, foot traffic softened, real estate sentiment shifted. Investors started asking different questions. What if growth plateaus? What if demand fragments? What if premium travelers don't fully return? Those questions don't crash systems, they reshape them. Projects pause, budgets tighten. Expansion becomes conditional, confidence shifts, and confidence doesn't snap back. It rebuilds slowly. Dubai responded quickly. Stability messaging, new markets, regional demand, all logical but not symmetrical because not all tourists contribute equally. Replacing high-spending travelers with volume requires scale, massive scale, and scale changes identity. More accessibility, less exclusivity. That's the trap. Adjust downward and weaken positioning. Stay premium and risk underutilization. There's no clean path because both directions carry loss. This is where the deeper shift becomes visible. Not crisis, not competition. Limits, not physical limits. Psychological ones. There is only so much demand for a specific experience. And once it's satisfied, it disperses. Dubai didn't lose demand. It lost attention dominance. And attention is everything because people don't just travel for experience. They travel for story. And once a story feels familiar, it loses urgency. That's where the shift becomes irreversible. There is a belief that this will pass, that the system will rebound like before, and part of it will. Flights will normalize, tourism will return. But the decision process has changed. It has been interrupted, and interruption creates space, space to reconsider, space to choose differently. A hospitality executive summarized it quietly. We're not empty, we're just not full enough. That difference defines everything because the system was built on fullness. And once that consistency breaks, certainty disappears. Investments made for continuous growth now face variable demand, not failure. Misalignment, stranded capacity, assets that function but no longer perform as expected. A restaurant owner in the marina saw it up close. Expanded in 2024, second location, higher rent. The math worked until it didn't. Fewer walk-ins, more empty tables, margins shrinking, nothing collapsed. But one location closed because the equation no longer held. That's how systemic shifts happen, quietly, then everywhere. Dubai will adapt, it always has. But this time the challenge is different. Not infrastructure, not policy, not execution, behavior. And behavior is the one variable you can't engineer. The world is shifting, not away from luxury, away from uniform luxury, toward differentiation, toward context, toward experiences that feel less interchangeable. Dubai mastered consistency. Now it faces a world that values contrast. That's a harder system to build. In the end, nothing physically collapsed. The skyline remains, the hotels operate, flights return. But internally, the alignment has changed. And once alignment breaks, it doesn't reset. It reorganizes around new expectations, new behaviors, new definitions of value. Dubai was built on the idea that the future could be engineered, and for a long time it was. Now it faces something it cannot fully control, a shift in what people want that future to feel like. Not bigger, not brighter, not more expensive, just different. And once people stop choosing a place by default and start choosing it again on purpose, the entire system changes, quietly, permanently.